Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm so happy you're here today. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Today on the podcast, we have JJ DiGeronimo. Now, JJ and I met through our mutual friend, Annetta Kuzma. Annetta has been on the podcast, and this just felt like such an amazing synchronicity because JJ hosts a group called Together We Seek. This is a group for lightworkers, healers, mystics, seekers, who all want to come together. It's absolutely amazing. And I can't wait for you to hear about it from JJ inside this episode. One of the things that really excited me about bringing JJ onto the podcast is she is an empath. Now, an empath, I'm also an empath, and chances are if you're drawn to this podcast, you might be too. An empath is someone who feels, senses, and really embodies other people's emotions, other people's energy. You are the person who can read a room before you even entered the room. You probably are the person who helped your friends through her life circumstance. People probably tell you their life story without you even asking. And one of the things that I really appreciate that's coming in this conversation with JJ is her journey of how she maintained her deep empathy and compassion, and also really created some of her boundaries that enabled her to do the really important work that she is doing and has done. So JJ DiGeronimo is a two-time award-winning author, speaker, and founder of two global communities, Tech Savvy Women and Together We Seek. Her latest book, Seeking, 74 Key Findings to Raise Your Energy, Sidestep Self-Doubt, and Align with Your Life's Work, is a transformative guide for women ready to trade overwhelm for meaningful impact. Drawing from a high-powered tech career and a deeply personal spiritual awakening, JJ blends grounded wisdom with energetic alignment to help women recalibrate, re-energize, and lead with intention. Her insights have been featured in Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, and Thrive Global. And through her books, retreats, and her podcast, Together We Seek, where I was a guest. I will link the YouTube of my conversation with JJ on her podcast. And when that releases as a podcast, I will also update the show notes with that link as well. She hosts an amazing podcast, again, featuring seekers, lightworkers, mystics, and healers. So whether you're connecting with JJ in her books, her retreats, her podcast, she continues to spark conversations that move women from doing to being. I'm so excited to introduce you to JJ DiGeronimo. Hi, JJ.
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I just look at you've done so many podcasts, so many conversations. I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Oh, thank you. So before we really dive in, I have one question. What is something you either did or did not do that has led to your yes filled life?
Hmm. I think it's been a process. I've had to do a lot of inner work to get to a yes filled life. I, like many of your guests, have been taught what to do and how to do it. And I think it leads us down a path of really reaching for external metrics to define how we feel about ourselves. And it took me a while to unwind those expectations and really step aside from my ego energy to live in a space that is more aligned with my inner knowing and my whispers and more of my truth to my gifts and what I chose to do when I came down on the planet.
I love this. So I was just leading breath work before we logged on. And one of the things that I had said was, we've been taught, to stay small, partially because people want us to be safe, or maybe they're a little bit scared of our energy, or maybe they actually have, nefarious motives in keeping us small. And what you're speaking to is like the untangling of all these teachings from other people. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and I think it is also goes to what you're saying as getting outside the matrix, right? Getting outside this sort of game that they play with us to stay small.
Absolutely. And I also love that you highlighted it was not one thing, it was many things and a journey. And I think that, at the end of the day, that's probably true for everyone, is it's this little right actions, the small things over time that build up into something really, really profound.
Mm, that's the truth. And I feel like most of us, something kicks it off. There's a crossroads, there's a crumbling, there's a detour, there's a disappointment, there's a death, there's unmet expectations that really often creates a chasm that we have this conversation with ourselves that often starts with like, oh my gosh, and we are a victim in many senses to our situation until we're not. And I think there comes a point in many people's lives where they realize that they are not their situation and that they can assess what is happening around them, but they can control what is happening within them.
Mm, that's an amazing distinction. You can assess what's happening around you and control what's happening within you. That's like a mic drop moment right there because, there's so much focus outward right now. If you look at the news and the narrative and there's a lot of fear, but the truth is we have control within about how we respond, about how we feel, about how we direct our attention, about how we direct our energy. And that's where the real peace and power reside.
It is exactly. And that took me, I would say, 6 years to get to. So when you ask, like, what's the one thing? There is no one thing. It's 100 million small things, small decisions, small choices, small areas of focus that gives you the reset on your behaviors, your decisions, the things you pay attention to that allow you to create the freedom away from the external.
Hmm. Absolutely. And when you said it took you 6 years, I was like, gosh, I wonder how many years it took me. And I don't yet have the figure because I'm thinking, I feel like I'm still in it. I feel like I'm
Mm.
still exploring. I feel like I've been on this journey since at least 2014. But, you know, here we go.
Well, and the reason I say 6 years is because it took me a long time to kind of really manage three areas of my life. I had to practice at it all the time. And it was like it would pop up and then go back down. So I had to pay attention to what I was paying attention to. So what was I watching? What was I reading? What was I listening to? I had to pay attention to what I was saying because I call it practicing polluter. Are you practicing polluter? Or are you a sharer of light? And just changing the way you have a conversation with yourself and how you have a conversation with others is so important. And then I had to pay attention to what was happening on the inside. Like, what are my stories? What are my triggers? What makes me feel defeated? What makes me feel excited? And it took me a long time to kind of put all those puzzle pieces together so that I could move through a situation, a morning, a family event, and be more of an observer. And I think that took a lot of practice.
Mhm.
And it really required me to kind of shift what I knew. And I used and worked with a lot of energy practitioners, healers, light workers, mystics to get the tool set to kind of clean out my vessel so that I had the capacity to show up differently.
Mm. Yes, yes. And I think my story would be on a parallel track. Like it took a lot of work, a lot of practitioners, mystics, light workers, healers, mentors, to get kind of where I am. You have such an interesting backstory. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey, like how you got into this work and what you were doing before and what you do now?
I would love to because it's so I can't even believe it myself, honestly. Like I was like, what? How did I get here in some respects? Because I grew up in a very modest family outside of Buffalo, New York. I ended up going to school for computer science, which is crazy because I didn't know anything about computers, but it was the degree that paid and I had nowhere to go. And I spent 20 years in high tech, most of which in Silicon Valley. And when I started having kids in my mid 30s, I realized like this is not just hard, this is really hard. And I didn't have a lot of people kind of telling me like, yeah, having it all you really can't do. It's almost
Mm.
impossible. And so I started hanging out with women that were 5, 10, 15 years ahead of me and asking them best practices like, how do you keep a management role going on the other side of the country when you have two infants at home? And so I brought all that information together really for my daughter, but then the universe swooped in and sort of said, listen, we're putting this down on paper. And being dyslexic, I never thought I could really write a book. So that wasn't in my really toolkit or things I thought I was going to do, but the universe ushered me along. And I wrote my first book in 2008, shortly after starting my first women's group. And that kind of started taking me on this trajectory of having these conversations with women and what was expected of us. How do we manage it? Like, how do we keep things going the right direction and align our yeses? Uh, and then I wrote a second book about how do women get up, get out of first line manager into executive positions onto boards. And then I had a like sort of like a life breakdown in 2016. And I was like, everything I knew kind of just evaporated. I feel like in a month, there were things happening in my marriage. My parents were having issues. Like my dad was sick, the big job that I had is my own company fell apart. And I found myself just sitting like literally by myself thinking, okay,
Mm.
I have all these accolades. I have all these wonderful metrics. I feel so alone and I'm at a major crossroads and I really don't even know what to do next. And that was kind of, I would say, the beginning of my life's work.
I love this. I love this so much because my story is different in the sense that I was in education. I was in choral music education, and I was at, what is arguably the pinnacle of a career. I was having national recognition. I was, serving on boards. I was directing really prestigious choirs in very prestigious events. And I remember coming home from a nutcracker. I was a children's chorus director for an opera company. And I remember coming home and watching all the families disperse, and they were going out to celebrate. They were going for dinner and they were very excited in their long black dresses and black tuxes, and they were so excited. And I went home by myself and laid out on the couch in such exhaustion I couldn't reach the remote. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? And for what? Like for another certificate, for another plaque on the wall, for another thing on my resume when I'm here alone, exhausted.
Depleted, right? Like totally
Absolutely.
depleted.
Yes, absolutely. And so for me, I'd always been a little bit, not a little bit, I've always been sensitive and always knew that there was more, but I had pushed it underground and then became a people pleaser as a way to use my gifts without outwardly using my gifts. So I knew it was there, but I didn't know what to do with it, what it was called, languaging around it, or anything like that. And so when I studied Reiki, that was sort of the switch that turned it all on back in 2014. What was the switch for you, and how did you get into the work from that place in working in tech and with executives?
Yeah. So in 16, I just turned to energy practitioners because I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was at such a crossroads and I felt very alone myself, just like you. And I was kind of like, I too have all these accolades. I'm on all these boards. I've written these books. I speak all over the country and I feel so alone. And I don't even know what makes me happy anymore. Kind of, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that's how you felt too.
Absolutely.
So I would say that, my mom, funny enough, I feel like you see glimpses of your life's work early on in your life and you
Uh-huh.
don't, and I'll look forward to hearing how you saw it. But my mom started taking me to Lilydale when I was like 12. And I wouldn't go see a medium, of course, but I would just walk the property or, sit on the assembly stumps and just kind of listen. Never in a million years did I think that I would open my own, spiritual group and have such a collection of so many powerful light workers, healers, and mystics, but I depended on them as I worked myself out of my own hole. And each practitioner brought another level or layer of self awareness. And I could not have done it without them. And
Mm.
so when I write in my third book about seeking, I was just literally seeking like, what do I do next? What is the next message? What's the next connection? And I feel like I really owe a lot of what I've done to people that were 5 and 10 years ahead of me on their own seeking journey.
Oh, I relate to that so deeply. And I've studied lots of different modalities, not because I don't value each, but because I do value each, because it's like a new tool in the toolkit. And the mentor that I chose for each was, like you say, 5 or 10 or 15 years ahead of me. And sometimes in age, sometimes in wisdom, sometimes in both. And I feel like I'm learning at the feet of great spiritual teachers. And that was a really important part for me to learn from people who I valued their level of integrity. Because there is some um, there are some unethical practices that are possible in this field, and when we talk about spirituality and healing. And so I really wanted to hone in on people that were practicing ethically, that were doing things for the right reason, for the highest and best for everyone. And so that was also a journey to finding those right people.
Yes, and that kind of is the catalyst of why I started Together We Seek. I started retreats in 1819, just bringing in some of my favorite practitioners to join me on Lake Erie to help other women remember or at least tap into like something from the inside, because so many of the women in my large group network on tech savvy women or even people that I've worked with in the speaking, they're all professional women and many of them realize that there's a missing piece. And so I
Hmm.
started these retreats in 18 for myself and to share some of the practitioners. And then when I started writing about my journey, kind of getting through this crossroads and the work I had to do, not just with myself, but my relationship with money, my relationship with my mother, my perfectionism, the way I let self-worth get a hold on me, which often led into self doubt. I had to really dig into corners of myself that I don't think I would have been prepared for if someone said, "Hey, this is the journey you're on and dive into all this." I'd been like, "Hell no, we're not." I'm going to keep all of that kind of tucked into a closet that nobody can access but me. But I had to dig through all my stories. And when I was writing the book Seeking, sharing all the different ways that you can really illuminate your path, because the more work you do from within, the more illuminated you become, and your path ahead shifts.
Hmm.
It's like a
Yes.
matrix, it shifts, right? And so I started my podcast, Together We Seek, just to bring life to the light workers, healers, and mystics I was working with, because I feel like society purposely makes them kind of hide behind closed doors and different things because of ways that we've set up the way we worship. And it really has to shift because we're at a really instrumental piece of our existence here on this planet. And we need people that can tap into their gifts in ways that can help shift the frequency. And so I believe my work is bringing these practitioners together to work together so that power and the energy and the momentum can actually be increased and allow us to work together to shift that frequency for the souls that are ready.
What if being sensitive wasn't something to manage, but a superpower you could finally trust? Inside your Yes Filled Life group coaching program, you'll learn how to stop carrying everyone else's emotions and start showing up with calm, clear, magnetic presence. You'll say no without spiraling. You'll lead without performing. You'll speak without editing yourself to stay likable. Because here's the truth, you aren't too much. You're just an empath with untapped power. This 12-week journey blends nervous system tools, intuitive development, and voice expression labs. So your visibility no longer feels like exposure, it feels like alignment. You'll feel excited to share your truth, to speak your message into the world, and to live into your purpose. Even if you don't know what that purpose is yet, this container can help you find it. If you're craving clarity, grounded confidence, and real world support to start trusting your voice again, or maybe for the first time ever, the fall cohort of your Yes Filled Life group coaching program is enrolling now. Head over to brendawinkle.com/your yes filled life or click on the link in the show notes because your energy was never the problem. You just needed the right container to hold it. Come join us inside your Yes Filled Life group coaching program. I love this. I have a similar mission, which is to empower the people who are latent. Like they have these gifts, but they haven't kind of embrace them yet fully. And so I love taking people who are feeling depleted, burnt out, a little bit lost, a little bit like, I don't know what to do. And then showing them, hey, guess what? You're an empath, you're an intuitive, you're a psychic. We've got these gifts. Let me help you use them. So I love that it's like a shared mission from a different angle. It's really important. And your point about being hidden behind closed doors. There's a lot of shame that comes when we're told to hide our gifts because there's such an innate part of who we are that when we're told they're bad, they're not appropriate, they're spooky, they're scary, they're made up, then we start to think, gosh, maybe I am. And so when you were on your journey and you were from corporate and you were working in these business capacities, how did you know that it was an energy healer that might be the one to help you? Was it because you had tried other more quote unquote traditional types of things that didn't work, or what was that journey like?
Hmm. That's an interesting question because I feel like, there you can't really get a therapy appointment in the same day. So I felt like I was at like that afternoon, I was like, what am I gonna do? Like I need to shift I need something else. I just have to get out of this house. Like I went online to three like holistic metaphysical places and to see like who is having something because that's where my mom and aunts used to go. And clearly I'm going to have to go there too. And so I like showed up in the parking lot without registering and I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to go in this door. Like I it was nerve wracking. And I just kind of pushed myself through the door and through the long hall, which used to be a place where nuns used to live. And it was dark and stained glass and it was felt very eerie. But I went all the way down the corridor to the open door and I walked in and I just sat down. I mean, I didn't have to register or sign in because I didn't register. And it was quickly clear to the leader at that time who did tapping and Reiki herself that I wasn't like registered. She didn't know me, but she was so gracious and just let me stay and encouraged me to come to a session with her one on one. And I mean, I feel like I was at such an instrumental point that I didn't know where to go and what to do. And I think if you just like go to a yoga studio, go to a Pilates studio, go sit in the park, like go to Mother Nature, like honestly, women especially are nurtured from the land and from the trees and from the stones and from the water. So if you can't even afford to go to something, like just get outside, walk the land, lay in the grass, like allow Mother Gaia to just wrap her arms around you, because I feel like we sometimes just think we're so by ourselves. And in reality, we're meant to feel that way so that we shift.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but for me, I was so ashamed of how I felt that day after the Nutcracker because I knew I had outward success. I knew that I was making a difference in families' lives. I knew I was like creating beautiful experiences for the audience. And so for me to be feeling depleted, I was really ashamed. And so when I was looking for practitioners, I wanted somebody who I knew would not feed that shame, who could help me bring that into the light so that I could work through whatever it was to work through. And so I was looking for somebody kind, non-judgmental, open-minded, and had like just healing energy. And so, and I know, my story might be unique in that way. Maybe not everybody deals with shame about feeling, but there was no way on earth I was going to sign up for a therapy appointment to tell them what I wanted to tell them because I was so deeply ashamed. And so I was intentionally going to something alternative. Well, in this, I was a Reiki practitioner when that happened. But even at the beginning of my journey, like in 2014, 2015, I needed to feel safe. And I prioritized that safety above anything else. And little did I know that I was going to get better results than I would have had I done other types of more traditional things. So I love, thank you for sharing
Mhm.
your
It's
piece of the
interesting.
journey. Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I laugh because of the shame, right? So many light workers and healers and mystics here feel the shame because of
Hmm.
past lives
Yeah,
and things that have happened. And like it's hard to even wrap your mind around, but we come in here knowing that we have to break out of that shell. And
that's right.
that many of us that are hidden or do feel shameful or just feel like it's what we do is ridiculous. Like it took me a long time to put light worker on my LinkedIn profile because I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? But then I got to a point, I'm like, I really don't care because I feel like people see what they're going to see. And some people won't even see it. And other people that are meant to see it will see it. So I feel like there's like you putting yourself out there in a new way, especially for where I was in technology and I did computer engineering and stuff. Like that was such a masculine way of showing up, and it was like very definable and very admirable in some ways. And now I'm like, okay, I'm a light worker. I do channeling, I hold retreats, we do like energetic shifts to raise your frequency. Like what the heck is all that, right? But I feel like it's probably been even longer than 6 years, where the last 2 or 3 years, because I started in 16, I'm actually okay just being me. And I had to do all that inside work for 6 years to actually now present myself on the outside, which took another 2 or 3 years. So it's been a journey. And I feel like no matter where you are, like you are where you're supposed to be. And oftentimes you know that there's somewhere else you're going. And I think giving yourself grace to just lean into what is ever happening around you. And, I often say, like, help me learn this lesson faster. Like, whatever lesson I'm in, like, help me understand so that I can move through this lesson, knowing that everything is a lesson.
Hmm. Absolutely. And as we sit here, I'm aware that you're reading energy, that there's different things that are popping into your awareness, which is kind of cool to watch because I see that in myself sometimes where I just will I can see it drop in because I recognize it in
Hmm.
in my process. And that's something that I always had and I was never ashamed of that. I was ashamed of my inability to handle working 70 hours a week, which is so silly. Like most people don't handle working 70 hours a week for very long. But, to your point about the LinkedIn profile, I think that that is real. That's definitely something that I had to work through so that my LinkedIn profile reflected what I actually do. And I think that, in the light workers that are in your Together We Seek group and podcast, do you feel like that's a pretty common experience?
Oh yeah. So it's great because I want to know about the journey. What was the journey to get to the gifts that you use now and how does it help other people? And I feel like most of my guests have had one or multiple things happen. I would say more than 50% of them have had really difficult situations, whether it's like how they grew up, the religious institute they're involved in, kind of people accepting them or not. Some have been in car crashes, some have had debilitating diseases or cancer. And so they've had to really work through that to get to the other side where they can heal others. And so that's like a big group of them. The other group is like they've gone in and out, but they have had to use different techniques and other people to help them really shine their lights in the world. And I feel like the journey is so important because we all have gifts and many of us are masking them or hiding them. And I love showcasing the stories of how people really leaned into their gifts or what happened for them to really choose their gifts, because it gives us all inspiration that it is possible to do what lights you up.
Mm, yes, indeed. And it's possible not only to do what lights you up, but to make a living doing what lights you up and to contribute in a way that feels really nourishing. I just love that. I love that.
Mm.
So do you offer private sessions or how do people work with you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm still like kind of working that out. Right now, I'm really a catalyst for change. And so I am sort of here down on the planet, collecting, building the groups, the communities, getting people to connect with each other. I do a lot of still speaking and I love that, but I am definitely moving more towards seeking like retreats and different destinations to kind of rattle us up, like do something different, get out of your every day. I don't do any one-on-ones. It's just not my calling at this point. And so yeah, I'm really here. I God takes care of me in other ways at this point, and I'm really just shifting more from a B2B to a B2C. And so I'm curious how this is going to manifest myself because I'm Aquarius sun and a Cancer rising, which is a humongous 2 decades ahead for both of these signs. So I'm really curious to see what God does with me next.
Oh, I love hearing that. I'm a Pisces sun and a Cancer rising and a Sag moon. And so,
Sag moon, Sag moon. Yeah, so
yeah.
it's a big time for us. It's a really big time, and Pluto's going into your sign next. So no, no, that's not true. Oh yeah, it is. Pluto's going to be going into your sign next. It came out of Capricorn. So yeah, so the next stage of Pluto is going to be in Aquarius and then into Pisces. So it's going to be very interesting. I am I lean on all of my knowing. So birth charts, human design, enneagrams, numerology, gene keys. Like I have all of that in ChatGPT and all my programs, so I can just kind of be like,
Me
what kind of day,
too.
what kind of week. Yeah, it's so helpful. But I would say that I'm really learning to wait to be invited. So my human design is I need to be wait to be invited instead of creating everything myself, which I've been doing for a long time, 2 decades.
Are you a
So I made
projector?
no, I'm a generator.
You're a generator. Okay.
So I'm really practicing waiting and being to be invited. That doesn't mean I don't do the work. It just means I'm not initiating something completely out of thin air that I thought of that I think would be fun or something I want to do because I've spent a lot of cycles doing all kinds of things and many did not manifest because I wasn't supposed to initiate things that I wasn't asked to initiate. So I'm kind of really practicing listening and paying attention and observing and seeing what crossed my path rather than creating my path.
I love this so much because I think that there's something so rich for every one of us when we can learn to listen and go with whatever it is we're being told, whether it's to create or to wait or to be invited. That's definitely been part of my big learning is waiting for me, I'm an emotional authority. And so I have to wait for the emotional wave to settle out enough that I can feel the trueness of whichever way I want to go. And I'm a manifesting generator, which means I have bazillions of ideas and I love to start things. I love to execute things. I do not love to finish things. And so when I learned I was a human design manifesting generator, I was like, I felt such relief because
Mm,
I had judged that part of me from, I've been a photographer, I've been a music teacher, I've been a Reiki master, I've been a theta healing. Now I'm doing this. And so there was a part of me that was judging that and making it bad. And when I learned about human design, I was realizing, oh no, this is like my makeup. This is what I'm this is how I'm built is I start and practice a lot of different things, garnering little bits of wisdom from each of these things, and then putting it into some unique soup.
yes. Yes. I have some of the similar makeup. I have my books are a perfect example. Like I have to go through it before I can teach it. And my books are truly like workbooks and teaching lessons. Like, hey, let me make your path a little shorter.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Where can we find your books? And I'll put the links in the show notes as well.
Oh, yes, you can find them on Amazon and they've got, check out the reviews. I love reading the reviews. It's so great. And I feel like this third book, Seeking, really has a frequency. So if you're ready to shift, if you feel like there's more in the world to do, book is a workbook. So you can really jump into any chapter because I feel like you probably know what you need to heal first, second, and third if you read the words and it really resonates with you or you really want to reflect it. It's usually like, okay, well, that's probably where I need to start.
Amazing. Okay, I cannot wait for that. And I want to
Yes.
we're not done yet, but I want to make sure that people know where can they find you? How do they connect with you?
Yeah, so JJ DiGeronimo, you can find me on any platform. I think the most favorite thing that I'm working on right now is I have a community on Money Networks where many of the podcast guests come into, they put their profiles up there, they share their retreats. We talk about favorite metaphysical stories and books. So that's Together We Seek online. And it's really about kind of what you mentioned earlier is having a trusted source of resources that you can tap into no matter where you're ready. I mean, I think some of us are very ready and are like, oh my gosh, tell me the 5 people I need to meet with right now. And others are like, let me read a little bit more about this. But this is definitely the shift for women. I mean, we have been for so long been told to kind of stay small, be quiet, whatever. And I feel like the shift is coming in such a big way where women are like, okay, I thought election was going to be like the thing that women come up and stand out for. Sadly, that did not happen. But now I think women are really starting to realize like this matrix is not working for me. And
Mhm.
my real goal is to get more women at more tables. So whether you read a book and get there, or you work with a light worker, or come to one of my events, anything that's going to allow you to tap into your truest self and give you the confidence to lean into what is calling you.
I just love this. I had chills when you were talking because, the downloads that I'm getting, and when I say downloads, I just mean like I'll be meditating. And then for me, I have all the clairs and then some other things too. And so when I say a download, I'm speaking about some kind of an awareness that has popped in for the listener that's like, what's a download? Um, so I know, like I know that we have more and more people, like exponentially more every single day, that are sort of like opening their eyes, like, wait, what's happening? This is not where I thought I would be. And they're hungry for spiritual awareness, and they're hungry for learning, and they're hungry for community and connection. And so I absolutely love that you have created this community of people and practitioners that are trustworthy and ethical and a beautiful resource for people. And I do think, like you said, I think there's a new wave coming where
Mhm.
people are like, hey, I'm ready to jump out of this matrix because it is hard to live there.
Yes, yes. I really try not to, because of the work that I do. The Goodyear blimp is going by my window right here now. Uh, yes. So it's so funny. So just is that not a sign? That's a sign. Everything is a sign. I feel like
Everything's a
everything.
sign.
Today I found a spider on my clothes in a closet. I would never expect to have a spider. Oh, there's two of them. Wow, talk about signs. Signs are all around us. Signs are all around us. And I feel like the more present you can be, the more you'll see the beauty of everything that comes your way.
Mhm.
And I have really leaned into the practice of gratitude. And it's as simple as like, thank you for my coffee. Thank you for my gas. Thank you for this desk that I can work from. Three of them. Three Goodyear blimps are going by my window right now. Three of them.
Three
It's
of them.
incredible. When does that ever happen? You're lucky to see one, but to see three, that is insanity. This is how my life is now. Like, I can't even explain to people sometimes the things that are happening to me. And I think it's because I'm keeping myself at a higher frequency.
Yes.
And for people who don't know that, I kind of think of radio stations, right? Are you at 94.1? Are you at 99.7? Like, I try to get as high to 99.7 as I can. So I pay attention to what I watch. I pay attention to what I say. I pay attention to what I listen to and how I talk to myself. And these are the practices that I've had to learn and work on every single day. And the more that I work on them, the higher my frequency becomes. And when my frequency becomes higher, things outside of me are shifting all the time.
Absolutely.
Phone calls, invitations, like just access. People are inviting me to things. And there were times in my life that I had to work so hard to get an invitation. Now I really just say, like I said, my main goal is to manage my frequency. Don't let somebody at the grocery store or down the street shift you. You have control of how you show up. And I have a lot of people that I go to events and they want to tell me their whole life story. And I really just have to create space for them, but not allow their energy to impact my energy.
Hmm.
Because as soon as I let other people's energy impact my energy, then my frequency goes down. And it takes
Right.
me a while to get it back up. And I want to be at a higher frequency because it's like magic.
Totally. Totally. So you're speaking to a couple things. One is in the Map of Consciousness Explained, written by David Hawkins. He did a scientific study that measured, using brain scans and a whole bunch of scientific equipment, the actual emotions and determined that there were different vibrations for each emotions.
Is it a
And
triangle? I think I've seen this.
well, yes. So it's a triangle, but
Yes.
then Abraham Hicks talks about a similar thing. And
Hmm.
so, all to say that what you're saying is based in sound science. It is not woo, although it is oftentimes framed as woo, but it is a scientific fact that better feeling emotions are higher vibrational emotions and they are magnetic. And the other thing is that so important when you're talking about people telling their life stories. I talk about in my community the difference between content and context. The content is what you're learning, what you're experiencing, how you're feeling, the lessons that maybe you're working through, the stories that you're letting go of. The context is the what. Like your mom said something mean about you and your kids. That's context. The content is you're feeling hurt because it reminded you of something in the childhood. And
Hmm.
so I talk a lot about let's stick to the content. Yes, some context sometimes feels supportive to share, but if you get stuck in the context, you will never learn the content. And then we'll just have a
Sure.
repeating pattern.
Yes. Right. 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 It's like you can't get stuck on the trigger. You got to pull back and be like, why does this trigger me?
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And one of the
Right.
hardest things that I've had to learn is that anytime I'm feeling anything less than ideal, whether that's feeling joyful or feeling excited or passionate or whatever, I'm stuck in a part. So if I'm
Mm.
irritated by somebody else's behavior, it's because there's a trigger in me. There's something that's saying, hey, I need love, attention, healing, and compassion. And that was a really, really difficult pill to swallow because I had a lot to heal. So I was triggered a lot of the time.
We all do. We all have things to heal. We're all, we picked our families, we've picked our siblings. Like, there's no accidents. You've gone through what you've gone through because you wanted to experience the next level of awakening, the next
Mhm.
level of feeling, whatever that is for you. So if you just say, life is happening for me and I would love to move through this lesson. So please show me what the lesson is so I can move through it. It's just really so helpful. And like I've shifted so much even the way I go to the grocery store. I used to be like on the phone, rushing through, getting the things, barely even talking to anyone, rushing to get the bags. And now I'm like, still have a lot to do, but I feel like my friends are at the grocery store now. Some of the people that work there, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, I am in my life. And I can't really say I was in my life a decade ago. I was saying that I was living a life, but I wasn't in my life. And I feel like for me, life is about the journey, as so many books have said. The journey could be just going and picking up milk and seeing someone in the parking lot saying hello, noticing a feather on the ground, walking in the store and hearing a song that you like, talking to Bob who fills the milk every day. Like, that's the journey. It's not
Yes.
like getting to the other side of the continent and being like, oh, I can sit in this chair and I can feel awakened. Like, the
Hmm.
journey is in everyday life. And I feel like we are kind of taught that we never have enough and that it's never going to work out. And, if you have the TV on a lot, it's just message, message, message. And you don't have your own feelings because you have an association to everything. So I think the biggest thing someone can just start doing is paying attention to what you're paying attention to. Are you
Yes.
feeding your soul with things that are raising your frequency or taking your frequency down? Are you calling people that are raising your frequency or taking it down? And how do you contribute to other people's frequency?
That's a beautiful one. Because oftentimes we don't think about that when we're thinking about our own frequency. I love that. I'm curious. You've mentioned TV, and I am totally drinking the Kool-Aid on that. I absolutely agree that what you consume has a massive impact on how you feel and how you can tend to your own frequency. I'm wondering, what's your relationship to your phone?
I would say it's a learning device mostly. I use my phone as a learning device. So my phone is podcasts, YouTube's, that is what I do on my phone. Like, especially at night, it's how I calm down when I'm doing any type of trip. I'm listening. I talk to different people here and there, but when I was writing my third book, I basically told all of my friends and family, like, hey, I'm writing this book that requires an intense amount of energy and a very high frequency. So I'm going to be writing this book for 18 months. So, like, I cannot engage in family drama. I can't engage in neighborhood drama. Like, I'm not your girl. If you have to sort through shit, I'm not your girl during these 18 months because really have to stay in a certain frequency to write this book. And I really feel like I was guided on so many of the pages and channeled so much information because I really created this container. And since then, I haven't really gone back to those conversations. And so I do not call people that are going to weigh me down with nonsense. Like, I'm sorry, I have some friends have just dropped out of my life, but I spend a lot of quiet time alone and I don't mind it at all.
Mm, I have found the same thing. And I wish I would have had the articulate way that you described needing to protect your frequency. I think mine was much more clumsily done, but I have found so much more peace, happiness, inspiration, creativity, and just inspiration from limiting negative conversations where it's like the dump, where you call somebody and they dump on you. I am absolutely not available for that.
Yeah, I love myself too much now to just allow people to just dump on me. I don't. And because I'm an empath, I spent a lot of years solving other people's problems and helping them through divorce and all kinds of things. And that's not how I want to spend my energy anymore. Not that I won't be a support system, but I don't want to be the everyday call that I have to dissect everything their ex-husband or ex-wife is doing. Like, I have a lot of work to do in the world and I really need to protect my frequency and I need to be very conscious of how I talk to myself, how I
Hmm.
talk about others even if I don't say it out loud. I I really want to get to the point where I am like skipping through life. I'm not there yet, I'll be totally honest, but I want to enjoy my life. I've been working really hard on different things and I really want to get to a point where I enjoy my life.
I love this. And I feel the same. I want to enjoy my life. I'm happy to help you and love you through something. And also, I can't hold it or carry it for you.
No, and I think for a lot of people, this is a great way to use and work with energy practitioners. If you have a repeat situation that comes up with different characters, as you mentioned, I always get in a relationship where it does this, or I always get a job that get this. You have to break that cycle.
Hmm.
And, the two of us know so many different energy practitioners you can call. You can ask us, this is my problem. And who would you go to? I'd probably give you a few podcasts to take a listen. But I feel like for many of us, like you have to get to a point where you want to work through repeat situations that are dragging you down. You have to love yourself enough to say no more.
That's right.
And I said no more back in 16, but I didn't have the tools to do it myself. And that's really why I turned to energy practitioners because I didn't know who else to turn to. And I didn't want to drag through my entire life. And there's a lot of energy practitioners that can do healings on you that you don't have to go through what happened to you when you were 6 or 12 or 2. They're so talented. And we would love to share those people with you because
Yes.
we want you to get on the other side of whatever is holding you back, whatever anchor you haven't been able to unhook yourself.
Absolutely, 100%. And from a trauma informed lens, there's a lot of research that says rehashing these things, like in a talking kind of way, actually re traumatizes the brain. We have tons of research to suggest it's not the most effective way to heal trauma. And so, yes, reach out to JJ or I, or me, I guess is proper grammar. JJ or me, and we will hook you up with practitioners. And one of the things that I can sense in you already is that if something is in a particular practitioner's scope of practice, you'll recommend that practitioner. And same for me. If I feel like something is or is not in my scope of practice, I will tell someone this is outside of the scope of what I do. And I think that, having people that will tell you, I may not be the best fit for you, but I know someone who is absolutely worth
Yeah.
gold.
Like, for example, if you're having a medical issue, your doctor, I would send you to a gentleman in Youngstown that does medical medium. If you have something that, something in your shoulder or your hip that you've gone to 6 doctors, I'd send you to Marion Columbus. I'd send you to a woman for TRE to release energy that is not serving you in your body. Like, there's so many lovely, lovely people that tapped into their gifts that have done the work and that are ready and willing to help you. And honestly, it is magical when you start to alleviate or eliminate energy that you've been holding for so long. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's a new lease on life.
Yes.
And this is the way I really love to work with energy practitioners is to lighten my load because
Same.
I can't skip if I've got 27 anchors.
Skipping is so much harder when you're carrying anchors.
Skipping, right? And it's not happening. So for me, so this
Oh,
is the work I'm doing now, and I feel like I am the catalyst to help to make normalize working with energy practitioners, healers. I feel like some of us do it, but not all of us. And for my network of women in business, it often, a Myers-Briggs, a strength finder is totally normal, but a birth chart is not. And so how do you use all the tools and resources available to you to
mhm.
allow you to illuminate your path forward?
Oh, I love it. And on that note, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Well, I hope you guys join me on one of my retreats. I have a mystery retreat going to be come out in June, and I really would like to spend time just going to sites and really just exploring ways that we can learn and connect together. I feel like many of us have been working alone or working in our home, and it's just time to just start spending more time in circle with women.
Yes, absolutely. JJ, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Oh, this was so fun. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. I loved this conversation with JJ, and I hope that you did as well. One of the things that really stood out to me was how she was able to communicate to her friends and family that she needed the 18 months to create the most radiant, aligned, energetically clean book ever, and how she hasn't gone back to that. And that's one of the things that I have learned I help people with. I know that sounds weird to say that I help people with that, but it's true. I have learned that the people that I most serve are the empaths, the people who think that they're people pleasers, but probably just have unmanaged empathy. If that sounds like you, invitation to consider coming to join us inside of your Yes Filled Life group coaching program. The fall cohort begins in mid September, and it's a 12-week experience designed for seekers, empaths, people who have a mission on their heart. Maybe you don't even quite know what it is, but you know that there's something more and you're ready to stop centering everyone else in your life. You're ready to become the main character of your life while maintaining your deep empathy and compassion. To learn more, go to brendawinkle.com/your yes filled life, and hopefully I'll see you there. Be sure that you hit subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss a thing. We have an incredible series that's launching this fall, just as soon as I get back from my family trip to London, about sex, love, and money. Why sex, love, and money? Because those are the three most common things that people want to talk about but can't admit. So we are revealing all the things inside that sex, love, and money series, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. It means a lot to me. Could you please take 30 seconds and go leave the podcast your rating, comments, or review, depending on if you're on Apple, Spotify, or another platform. It takes you 30 seconds, and it's literally one of the most impactful and helpful things you can do for the podcast. This podcast is free for you, but it is not free to produce. All of our speakers donate their time, and the more ratings and reviews you have, the more they get paid for their time in a way. I'm also donating my time to create this podcast for you. And the more ratings and reviews that we have, the more we can get this into the ears of listeners who really need it. It would mean so, so much. And it would create that energy exchange that is so important. Thank you for listening. Bye for now. Until next time.